Hey everybody, I am Brady Briggs. Welcome to another episode of the Combat Logic. Today I want to talk about Ilia Topuria and his future, what he's done so far in his short career, and what could be next for him. He just knocked out Jai Herbert in the second round last weekend at UFC London. And man, this is an impressive performance because he got hurt very badly in that first round. He's so good at battling through adversity. Like we see now that he can get hurt and still believe, nah, this is my fight to win. And that was really great to see. So let's see what he's done in his career so far. He started out his career in 2015 and quickly assumed a 7-0 record spanning from 2015 to 2019. All 7 of those wins came via submission. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's only 25 years old too. And when he came over to the UFC like a year and a half ago, I think he was like 23. He was either 23 or 24, and he had a black belt then too. And it showed in his UFC debut. But nonetheless, he started off his career 7-0 with 7 submissions. 1 made it past the first round and went 250 into the second round. And he won the MFE featherweight championship in that fight. A couple fights later, he fights for the Cage Warriors bantamweight championship. Notice I said bantamweight, 135 pounds. He missed weight for that contest, so he was ineligible to win the title. Had he made weight, he would be a Cage Warriors champion too. Nonetheless, following these 7 straight victories, he starched his next opponent in the first round to improve his record to 8-0. So now he's 8-0 with 8 finishes, 7 in the first round, and he makes his UFC debut against Youssef Zalal. Youssef Zalal was 3-0 in the UFC at that point, and Topuria just mauled him, dude. He almost submitted him so many times. Like, I can't believe he didn't end up getting the choke. Like, he got so many anaconda chokes, so many darces and guillotines locked up on Youssef Zalal, and Zalal stayed tough, and, he didn't get finished, but Topuria had a very, very, very impressive UFC debut. It's his first ever decision win, and still his only decision win. Since then, he has KO'd Damon Jackson, Ryan Hall, and Jai Herbert. So Damon Jackson was coming off like a comeback of the year performance against Mirsad Bektic. And if anybody remembers Mirsad Bektic, you know how much of a prodigy he was. His career just didn't quite turn out the way a lot of us predicted. But nonetheless, Damon Jackson submitted him in the third round. Like, he's a really good fighter. Topuria just ran right through him, throwing nasty boxing combinations right in the pocket, and just completely starched him midway through round 1. Since then, Jackson has gone 2-0, defeating Charles Rosa and Kamala Kirk. Kamala Kirk most recently defeated Makwan Amirkhani, who also competed and won in under a minute at UFC London. Next is Ryan Hall, who was the boogeyman of the division at 145 pounds. No one wanted to fight him. Not just injuries, but because no one wants to fight him, he's been inactive for quite a while, or had been. He was 4-0 in the UFC at that point. He's an Ultimate Fighter winner. He's the only person to ever submit BJ Penn, even though BJ was not the same. We all know that. Submitting him is a huge fucking deal. And yeah, Topuria scrambled with him. He went to the ground with him, and Hall left his chin out there while he was on his back, or while he's kind of in bottom turtle position. It was a scramble, and Topuria just hit him really hard a bunch of times and got the knockout at the end of the first round. Ryan Hall has also since rebounded with a victory over Derek Minner. And then this brings us up to last weekend where he fought Jai Herbert at 155 pounds. So he's going up to a weight class he's never competed in before. He's competed at bantamweight, and he's competed at featherweight. He made the bantamweight limit 1 time. Other than that, all of his fights have been at featherweight until this past Saturday. Yeah, dude, he got dropped with a head kick. First off, Jai Herbert's a pro kickboxer, okay? And Topuria is 5'7", with a 69-inch reach. Jai Herbert is 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. Okay, so he's 6 inches taller. He's half a foot taller, and he has an 8-inch reach advantage on him, and it showed. Herbert was doing a really good job picking Topuria apart. He landed a really, really nasty head kick early on in round 1 and hurt Topuria badly with it. Topuria is and then Topuria is able to get the takedown. He stays on top of Herbert for probably like half of the round, like the middle half of it. Herbert is then able to get up and continue picking Topuria apart. But Topuria is still throwing down. He's not afraid to get hit. Like he's still trying to get inside, get in, find his range and land the hard shots, which was very admirable to see. And that's exactly what he did in the second round. As 67 seconds into the second round, he knocks Jai Herbert out. And it's just, man, it was really astounding. It was so astounding. Like his pinpoint accuracy while he's trying to get on the inside of a fucking kickboxer that is beating him up, and he's still not afraid to strike with him. He gets right in his grill and throws these nasty combinations. And that shovel hook, that left hook to the body, right overhand, just the same exact combination he knocked Damon Jackson out with, he knocked Jai Herbert out with. And it was incredibly impressive. Like, I really wonder, is he going to stay at lightweight or is he going to go back to featherweight? I think he's more of a natural featherweight. But obviously his power carries up to 155 pounds, and obviously he can compete at 155 pounds. Like, this dude is a potential future champ, like in the UFC too. Like, Ilia Topuria is about as good of a prospect, as good of a prodigy talent we've ever seen. He's very quickly approaching contendership at probably 145 pounds for 155. But let's see, who would we like to see him fight next? I think him and Edson Barboza would be a pretty interesting matchup. It'd be a really interesting matchup, though he's 4-0 in the UFC right now, and Barboza has lost his last 2 straight. Topuria, as you see, he quickly went 7-0 with 7 submissions. Since then, he's had 5 fights, finished 4 of them, and all of them were KOs. Not just knockouts, but KOs. Like, they all went stiff. They were all sleeping. And that's just crazy. That's so crazy. Like, he's got so much power. He's got so much technique. Barboza would be an interesting fight. Number 11 ranked Sadiq Youssef would also be a really interesting fight. Youssef is coming off a win over Alex Caceres. Prior to that, he had lost to Arnold Allen, which we see there is no shame in at all. That would be a super cool fight. Ilia Topuria and Sadiq Youssef. That would be sick. Oh, I see. Topuria is actually ranked at featherweight. He is number 15. Right above him is Shane Burgos at number 14. That would be a really good fight. Topuria just competed at lightweight in his last fight, obviously. Shane Burgos is an absolutely fucking massive featherweight. He's huge for featherweight. I can't believe he can make weight there. That would be a really good fight. The winner or loser of Movsar Evloev, who is ranked at number 13. The winner of him and Dan Ige, who's number 10, or the loser, would be a really good matchup for him next too. Maybe not Ige if he loses, because he's lost his last 2 straight. If he loses this one, it'll be 3 straight. But if Ige wins, or if Movsar wins or loses, that would be a really interesting fight to see him in. Or how about Lerone Murphy? He was supposed to fight Nate Landwehr earlier this month, but that fight was pulled for undisclosed reasons. Him and Lerone Murphy would be a really good fight, because Lerone is another really, really promising prospect from across the pond. He's from England. Topuria is from Spain. I think he lives in Georgia now, like the country Georgia. That would be a super sick fight. Another one that I would really like to see that a lot of people haven't been talking about lately, because, the military made him serve his term, is Doo Ho Choi. And he was speaking about returning not that awfully long ago, which is surprising to me, because you have to serve a term of 3 years over there, I believe. And he got his arm broken in his last fight, so it took him even longer to be able to go into the military. And Like, it hasn't been 3 years yet, but he was already speaking of a return. So I don't know. Maybe something happened. I'm not really sure. Him and Duo Choi would be a great, great fight. The winner of Charles Jourdain versus Lando Venata would be a really good fight too. Those are two really wicked strikers. That's going to be a really good fight. But the winner of that fight versus Topuria would also be really sick. Hakeem Dawodu. Hakeem Dawodu is coming off a win over Michael Trizano. He's a pro kickboxer. He went 9-0. He went 42-5 as an amateur. Him and Topuria would be really sick too. This wouldn't be quite as good of a fight for him. It'd be a good fight for Topuria, but Bryce Mitchell. No, Bryce Mitchell should be fighting guys that are ranked higher than him. I think we all know this. But with the way his submission grappling is, who wouldn't want to see these two fight on the ground? Who wouldn't want to see it start on the feet? Like, this would be a really, really great fight. Bryce Mitchell is now ranked at number 9. And I think most of us agree that Topuria should be climbing along the rankings pretty soon here. Him and Bryce Mitchell would be a very telling fight for both of their futures. All right, let's go to lightweight. There's Ignacio Bahamondes, who in many media outlets was awarded knockout of the year last year for his spin and wheel kick knockout over Roosevelt Roberts. After he picked him apart for 3 rounds, he landed a beautiful, seamless spin and wheel kick with 5 seconds left and got the KO victory. It was sick. And he followed that up with another 3rd round finish. This time he submitted his opponent, his first ever submission in his career. He made his UFC debut by losing a split decision to John Magdesi, who's 22-0 as a pro kickboxer. That fight played out on the feet, and it was very close. This kid's only 24 years old. He has so much potential. Him and Topuria would also be sick. Like, they're both going to be fighting for the belt at some point. Whether they win it or not, they're going to fight for it. Mason Jones. Mason Jones would be a really, really good fight to see him in too. Mason Jones is a Cage Warriors champ. And he had a little bit of a rough start to his UFC tenure, to our surprise. So he came over with a 10-0 record, and he lost a unanimous decision to Mike Davis in his debut, where a lot of people thought he won it. Like, it was a very close fight. You know, it's not necessarily a robbery, but more people thought he won it than lost. And after that, he beat the shit out of Alon Patrick until the fight was stopped via no contest. There's an eye poke. And since then, he was supposed to rematch Patrick, but Patrick pulled out and was replaced by David Onama. And he ended up beating Onama in an absolute war. That was also a pretty close fight. So he's 11-1. He's also a finisher. He's one of the most well-rounded talents we have in the sport, and he's only 26 years old. Topuria and Mason Jones, that might be my favorite matchup I've mentioned so far. Matthias Gamrot. This is another really, really good name. So Gamrot came over to the UFC with a record of 17-0, and he lost. He's a KSW champion, multiple-time KSW champion, like a 10-time champion over there. He lost a split decision in his UFC debut that everyone knew he won. Okay, even the guy that beat him, Guram, I don't know how to say his last name, Kudalidze. Guram admitted that he lost that fight in the octagon right afterward. Like, Gamrot beat him. Since then, he's gone 3-0 with 3 finishes, all last year in 2021. He had one of the better years 2021 than anybody. He is now 20-1. He finished Scott Holtzman via KO. He Kimura'd Jeremy Stevens. Jeremy Stevens hasn't been submitted in a long time. He got him with a Kimura. And then he just knocked out Carlos Diego Ferreira in his last fight. So these are 2 guys that are going toward the top. Be a great fight. Ludovic Klein would be a good fight. He's coming off a win over Devontae Smith. That would be interesting. Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner would be a really good fight. He's another guy that's much, much taller than Topuria, but Topuria got on the inside of Jai Herbert, and he was able to do his thing there. Jalen Turner has the same reach as Jai Herbert, 77 inches, but he's 2 inches taller. He's 6'3". So he's 8 inches taller than Topuria with an 8-inch reach advantage. He's improving more rapidly than we see just about anybody improve in the sport. That would be super interesting to see. But honestly, Turner is a natural lightweight. Topuria is a natural featherweight. I don't know if that would be a great fight for him. It'd be a great fight for us to watch, though. The fans would win on that one. Arman Saryukin. Arman Saryukin would be a great name to see him fight. So Saryukin's only lost once in his career, aside from his second pro fight. He was knocked out in his second fight in just 30 seconds. Since then, he's gone 17-1. His only losses to Islam Makhachev in his UFC debut in a fight he won a round in. He won a round against Islam Makhachev in his UFC debut. Makhachev was already well established in the promotion at that point. He even took him down. And then since then, he's gone 5-0. First off, securing 3 decisions. He wasn't much of a finisher, and he's since gotten knockouts in his last 2 fights over Christos Piagos and Joe Alvarez. He's the only man to finish Joe Alvarez. Man, when is David Tamer coming back? Fuck, I miss him. He's a good fighter. The last name I have, another Cage Warriors champ, Paddy Pimblett. These two had an altercation at UFC London behind the scenes leading up to the weigh-ins, and they got into a little bit of a scuffle. Ilia called him out immediately following his win over Herbert, saying, I want to fight the blonde bitch, or I want to fight Patty bitch, or something like that. And that would be a really good fight. Paddy Pimblett is 2-0 in the UFC with 2 first-round finishes. And he battled adversity in both of those fights too, just like Topuria did in his last fight. Like, something both of these guys have shown us is that they can come through adversity and come out the other side victorious. Because Pimblett got rocked in his UFC debut. He then bit down on his mouth guard, threw the fuck down with him, and starched him. And then this time he was out-wrestled by the much stronger man and ended up, having a seamless transition to his back and got the rear naked choke toward the end of the first round. So they can both battle adversity. They're both very well-rounded. They're both really dangerous on the feet and even more dangerous on the ground. That would be a really good fight. I think that might be the one I want to see next, because though you don't want, like, when you put 2 up-and-coming stars together, one of them has to lose, right? Well, both of these guys are so young, they'll probably end up fighting again. Like, we could get a trilogy out of this or something. It would be really great. And David Onama, I mentioned him earlier. He would be a really good fight to see Topuria in as well. They're both really dangerous young talents. So yeah, what would you like to see Ilia Topuria do next? Would you like to see him at 145, 155? Thanks for watching.